So my name is Mia Grodsky. I work for Yap Global, we're a public relations agency, and we service crypto projects. And a couple months ago, we embarked on a journey of also launching a service DAO. So that's how I know Spencer. Spencer's a member of DAOhaus. They actually helped us launch. So Spencer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about DAOhaus? What is DAOhaus? What are you building?
Yeah, I actually would like to start by just expressing how amazing all of this is. I feel extremely lucky to be here, and I wanted to say that because it's true, but it's also a good segue for me to kind of describe how I got here, and that is through service DAOs, almost 100%. I was doing a lot of things in crypto on the side, reading, a little bit of writing, but maybe 15 to 16 months ago, I discovered Raid Guild, and I joined Raid Guild and started doing things in Raid Guild, and I was still working full-time at my big, giant, evil corporation job, but it was really discovering Raid Guild and understanding that there would always be work for me to do there if I ever needed more money or to do more work. And that gave me the confidence and kind of the foundation to quit that job and to dive into DAOs full time. So I will always be forever grateful to Raid Guild and all the people that started and are making Raid Guild what it is, and to service DAOs as a general concept, foundational for me and kind of this new part of my life with all of you. And that is one reason why I am so excited about what we are doing at DAOhaus, and one of the reasons why I started contributing to DAOhaus. Because one of the things that we have discovered is that DAOhaus is an excellent platform for service DAOs. Moloch DAOs are an amazing construct and work really, really well with service DAOs because, like the name Raid Guild says, service DAOs are guilds. They are collections of individuals where those individuals can remain sovereign, and they can choose what work they want to do. They can choose who they want to work with, but they also get to work with other people and to be part of this collective that can do amazing things together. And that is a really amazing concept and an amazing thing that has occurred and that is possible because of the way Moloch DAOs work. And at DAOhaus, what we're trying to do is make that even easier to do and even more possible for as many people, as many guilds, as many cooperatives as we can.
So how many members are in DAOhaus right now, and about how many DAOs are using your platform for the tooling?
That's a hard question to answer. So I'll start with the easier one. In DAOhaus, I actually haven't counted because I don't know, we just work with each other and it's fun. But I would say maybe like 30-ish people contributing at various levels of bandwidth and consistency. It probably a lot more than that, but it feels like 30 to me. The number of DAOs that we have on DAOhaus, I think it's in the thousands. A lot of that includes maybe like test DAOs or people kind of just trying things out, or DAOs that have started and haven't really continued. So the number of like active every day or every month DAOs is lower, but I honestly couldn't tell you right now how many that is. It's certainly over 100. Yeah.
Cool. So kind of like how Yaler introduced, I worked for a really more traditional PR agency servicing crypto projects, but we kind of felt this need to have a segment of our organization that was also a DAO once we started working with DAO projects. So it made sense for us to kind of branch off and form our DAO. But that poses this question of, is it easier to start a DAO or transform your current organization into a DAO? So what does that look like kind of in the space?
Yeah, at the end of this, I'm going to bounce that question back to you because
Sure.
You've been doing that. I think in one sense, it can be easier to start afresh and to not have the kind of legacy patterns and habits and structures to have to break before you DAOify. in another sense, it can be harder to find a bunch of people who want to work with you in this service DAO guild kind of way. So I think what is true is that if you do have a current company that is interested in kind of converting to more of a DAO format to provide services to other people and other organizations, I think it is really important to, one, be honest with yourself about what that's going to take, and two, maybe try something like DAO has. So this is where I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, sure. So, so our service is public relations, seeking publicity for the different DAOs and DeFi projects that we're working with. And so we took the approach of starting a separate organization. Personally, I come from a non-technical background. I don't consider myself a technical person, and there's this great need for non-technical people into the space. So we really felt that by opening up a PR DAO, this service DAO explicitly meant for writing and marketing and PR, that would encourage other people who also have those skills, who aren't tapped into the space yet, to kind of have an entry point. And so that was kind of our philosophy. We wanted to be able to service more projects and expand beyond the agency, and we felt like we could do that through the DAO.
And talk a little bit about how you are managing both entities and how do they relate to each other?
Right. I mean, it's really challenging. First of all, both entities have a similar name. And so that's something that I hadn't even thought about before, like the naming issue, because the agency is called Yap Global and our DAO is called Yap DAO. So I think that was one thing I would have maybe kept more in mind beforehand. But I think a lot of the lessons that we've been learning, so far in kind of managing both is having to keep it separate in my head. Like working for a DAO is very different than working for an agency. The streamline of your work is different, the process is different. With an agency, things are still, very hierarchical, but in a DAO, it's completely different. This is the second DAO that I've been a part of. And there are members of our DAO where this is their first DAO. So really trying to show people, how to empower themselves to just take on work and take on projects in this space if they're designers, but they've maybe never done design work for a crypto project. Just empowering them and kind of helping educate people. Yeah. So I think service DAOs, it's this amazing concept, right? But I think one roadblock for me, we don't provide a technical service, we provide a soft service. But there are many other kind of physical services out in the world, right? That people are providing every day. There are nail salons providing a service, grocery stores provide a service, hospitals provide the service. So what are the lines in kind of in our physical world and in our digital world? Should every service become a service DAO? How do we structure this kind of going forward?
Hospital DAO, oh boy.
Hospital DAO.
The job I quit was in healthcare, so I have a lot of opinions about that. I might skip that one for
nail salon DAO.
Yeah, nail salon DAO. So I guess your question was about are there services that shouldn't be service DAOs?
Yeah, I guess I feel like I've taken the red pill for crypto, right? If I go and get my hair cut, I might end up talking to my hairdresser about crypto and telling them my job and about my work. But should my hairdresser try and start a DAO?
Yes.
But how does a person like that who has no technical experience, they're not tapped into this at all, what does that process look like for onboarding those, types of organizations that are, again, based in this more like physical service, I guess?
Yeah, meat space stuff is a little harder. And I guess the other component of onboarding is that this is a little bit maybe off topic, but I think it's interesting anyways. Inside of this crypto membrane, the UX is really incredible actually, because you can just hop from one thing to another with your wallet and you don't have to do anything else really. Getting past the membrane is the hard part, because you have to get a MetaMask wallet and you have to get some ETH or XDAI or Matic or whatever. But once you get past that, it's really great. So I'm not sure that I like people are people are working on the getting past the membrane part. Personally, I have been less concerned about that and trying to ensure that once people get past the membrane, then things are as easy as possible. So if a hairdresser they say they're working at a salon and they don't have any sort of ownership over the salon, I would like to make it as easy as possible for them to get a group of their salon or hairdresser friends or related services friends and start a DAO. Maybe it's on DAOhaus with just probably a handful of clicks and a little bit of thinking, and just start to pool their funds and then use those funds. Meat space is hard because you have to take the funds out and you have to convert them to fiat, and then you have to buy a thing, or you have to pay rent or something like that. But that doesn't mean you can't use the crypto stuff to pool your funds and to as a place to start. Once you open the salon DAO, meat space place, to start putting 5, 10, or 20%, whatever you agree upon, of your individual revenues that you get from cutting people's hair into the DAO. That model is, I think, pretty universal for any services that individual people or even groups of people provide to other people or other organizations. That is the model that Raid Guild uses. We take 90% of what our clients pay the individual raiders who work on projects or raids for those clients. We take 90%, we give it directly to the raiders, and 10% goes into the DAO, and we do things internally with that 10%. Same exact thing could happen for a salon DAO. They could use those shared funds to buy cleaning supplies or new clippers or new scissors or whatever things you use in a salon.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I wonder who the first salon DAO will be. Anyone?
Anybody out here like cutting hair?
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk to you about is just this idea of scaling DAOs and how to actually grow service DAOs. So within Yap DAO, for example, like we're already such a niche thing. There's not many people doing public relations or even marketing for crypto. So in trying to recruit and find members, I don't see us getting past maybe 50, 100 people. I don't know how many people in the world actually have these skills and want to provide them. But then there are other service DAOs that can grow in a much more exponential way. And then you see stories like Polygon announcing that they're trying to build a 100 million person DAO. So what are some coordination mechanisms that you use inside of the DAOs that you're part of to help facilitate work and help them grow and scale depending on if they're trying to grow to 100 members or 100 million members?
So that Polygon goal of 100 million member DAO, I think I would ask them first, why?
Well, their why is to have the community build out their DeFi platform, but
yeah, I mean that's
why?
That's cool. So if one of your other questions was, what are we doing? What mechanisms are we using to help service DAOs scale? Mm-hmm. And I think that's something we're very much still figuring out. The easiest example is the one that I live every day, which is Raid Guild. We are very much trying to figure this out. We have about 106-ish members, probably maybe one more now. On any given day or week or month, some smaller percentage of that is active and doing work and contributing. But we've thought a lot about what it means to grow beyond that and to start bringing in more people. One of the ways that we've done that is through being more intentional about onboarding and doing that in such a way that we can ensure that the people that are coming in not that they're assimilating to the culture, but that they understand the culture and they understand what's happening, so that when we bring in many people, or if and when we start to bring in many people, it's not a culture shock for the people that are already there, and we don't lose what makes Raid Guild special. The other big question that we've been grappling with is how and whether to fragment. I think you're right that service DAOs, because they are so people-centric, it's very difficult for them to grow beyond 50 to 100, maybe 150, numbers we're all pretty familiar with. But that doesn't mean we always have specialties and we always have ways to specialize and focus more. I think the key issue to figure out is what is the axis, what is the dimension on which to fragment or on which to specialize. One idea we were throwing around in Raid Guild at one point was, should we start to fragment based on skill set or role? So front-end developers that we call warriors, or Solidity developers that we call wizards. Should those have their own DAOs? And I think what we realized is maybe eventually, but not right now, because what makes what we do so special is that we work together across functions and across roles. So we're still trying to figure out what is the right dimension on which to fragment. I think we are going to need to in some fashion. And there's a lot of overlap between Raid Guild and DAOhaus and people building those things. So that feeds into how we think at DAOhaus about, and what we're trying to work on at DAOhaus about how to facilitate composability between smaller DAOs in a way that feels more cohesive, or maybe it doesn't need to feel cohesive, and we're figuring that out.
And so what are some of these different kind of subgroups or work groups that you are establishing within these DAOs in order to coordinate some of the work? And have there been successes or failures within creating those composability mechanisms?
So I think that there's two related but separate answers. One that's more for service DAOs, which is my example always being Raid Guild. And it's actually kind of easy to have some fragmentation, because when you're providing a service to a person or to a particular organization, and that service can be kind of a thing on its own. We call them raids in Raid Guild, and we call the people that are working on those raids the raid party. So you can think about a raid party as like a little mini DAO, or like a little mini or like sub organization. And that just makes a lot of sense, and it's very easy to do it that way. Mm-hmm. In a DAO that has more of a direction or an objective that they are trying to achieve, like DAOhaus is with building the DAOhaus platform. We have kind of splintered, or we have sub DAOs relating to different areas of working on a platform or building a platform. We have kind of our product-oriented circle or sub DAO. We have our communications-oriented sub DAO. We have our tokenomics and incentives sub DAO, and we have our operations sub DAO.
Mm. Yeah, one thing that you just kind of said, you call within Raid Guild the different subgroups, you call them raids. It's kind of interesting because that mechanism applies to a bunch of other DAOs, but in Raid Guild it's being called raid. So there's a little bit of this communication problem happening where the same thing is happening within these different DAOs, but they are being called different things. So how do we be more cohesive in this language that we're using?
I think my answer to that is maybe we shouldn't always. Mm-hmm. One thing that works really great about Raid Guild is we have leaned so heavy into our set of memes, and so it works as a mimetic filter.
So you're saying just meme everything, and then.
I personally think that DAOs and other organizations should have their own shared language, but that doesn't mean that we can't separately talk about what those things mean across DAOs. I think this is a big area for coordination for DAOs. I think the DIA is kind of leading the way in this, trying to figure out how do we like facilitate conversations and knowledge gathering and knowledge building across DAOs, especially across DAOs that have heavy specific memes. So that's to be figured out, and I think there's great people leading the way on that, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, so where do you want to see service DAOs in 5 years? Or maybe even 1 year, 5 years, kind of what is your vision? We had that hairdresser, nail salon example. In 5 years, do we want, all of our friends who are running those types of businesses to be
I want to get
operating
my hair cut as a
You want to get,
salon
okay.
now, yeah.
So what are the, what can you tell us more about this vision that you see?
I hope that we can create a DAO native economy and have DAOs providing services to other DAOs. in all of the ways. I don't know. I've struggled a little bit to articulate that vision, because in a sense it's so big and broad that it feels a little bit silly to say out loud. But if we say 1 year or something like that, then I hope we have, I don't know, in the next year, 50 more service DAOs. That might be too small. I don't know, 100 more service DAOs.
Yeah, I want to see, I mean, for me personally, I want to see more people who come from my communications marketing background to kind of embrace the crypto movement. And I do see service DAOs as this great entry point for people like me who have these skills to offer to the space, but there might not be a clear-cut path. So I also hope to see more service DAOs that are based on those type of skills.
How are we doing on time?
I think we're wrapping it up. Do you have any last thoughts or things you want to share?
Just very, very quickly, I guess, building on your last comment. I think all of us here are like pretty deep into DAOs, if not actively, but maybe more conceptually. But to anybody who is not yet, or to anybody who is kind of a little bit more on the edge of crypto and Web3 stuff and hasn't really dived in fully yet, service DAOs are a great way to do that, because you don't really have to have much crypto at all. You don't really have to have specific crypto experience. You just have to have experience and in the thing that you're doing, and an eagerness to experiment with new forms of doing that, and a desire to do it with other people.
Yeah, and I just want to give a quick shout out too. So when we decided we wanted to launch a DAO, we came to DAOhaus, and they really helped us every step of the way. So like you're saying, and everyone here in this room too, like everyone will help you, and that's one of the coolest things. And we've found so much support from all of the other DAOs, and we wouldn't have been able to do it as quickly, I think. So it's been really awesome, and we've learned a lot from you guys.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see you guys flourish as a DAO.